All right, so does Lake Okeechobee suck? And why should you listen to somebody's opinion who lives 900 miles away? I've been going to Okeechobee for about 5 years now. I would say in total I've got 80 hours of time on the water, and that's with a full time guide who has tournament level experience. I'm not somebody who goes down there and drops a boat in and tries to figure it out on my own. Um, uh, every one of those 80 hours was with a purpose, right? And that person's job and their livelihood is to help their clients to get onto fish. So just want to let you know that in advance because in the grand scheme, 80 hours approaching that place on your own, boy, that's no time at all. But here's the reality of it. The spraying's really taken a toll on the place. Add in high water levels. Finding clean water has really been tough, and in Florida, that's critical. It's led to a lot of community holes. If you've watched any of the major events over the last couple of years, there's really three places on that lake that play, and they turn into parking lots pretty quick. There's no secrets amongst friends, I suppose. Um, but just to give you an example of what that looks like, the first year I was down there, I remember we were burning the Big Easy over top at Eelgrass, swimming it like a buzzbait on top, and you'd see these giant wakes coming up, and all of a sudden, just these violent explosions, and it was probably some of the most fun fishing I've ever been a part of. And then fast forward, 2 years ago, we're down in the south end in the South Bay area, and we're dragging worms and swimming speed worms over dead reed stalks because that's the only hard bottom that the fish had. Um, so the question is, does Lake Okeechobee suck? Because it sure sounds like it. My answer is no. Uh, I'm going to admit it's not in its prime. I never truly saw it in its prime, but I can tell you it's not what it was 5 years ago. I can also tell you that it's better than 90% of lakes out there. There are big ones, and there's a lot of them. It's such an incredible place. Their population of fish from 5 to 7 pounds, realistically, is just absolutely massive. Um, and I've never been there without getting or having the chance at a big bite. So I guess the question really becomes what's to blame? And I know there's a lot of finger pointing going on down there, but I can tell you from experience that my worst days have been more about being my fault than it has anything to do with the lake or those outside factors. We go down in the winter. A lot of the times our water's hard and has been for a while. It may have been 3 or 4 months since I've been fishing, and mechanically, I'm pretty sloppy. Throw on top of that the wind, the grass, the fish are just angry. They can get you into trouble in a hurry. It's a tough place, right? Especially if you're a little bit rusty. And for me, every year that's like my Bassmaster Classic. So, on top of that, I've got nerves and I've got adrenaline. And anybody who really loves this deal understands what I'm talking about. And I would also throw in here too, we fish artificial. I always will. I'm stubborn. I don't really ever want to bait fish. But if you're going down there with a novice or a younger person, somebody who's just getting into it, it may make more sense to do a shiner trip. I think it's going to be more productive, and you have a better chance at landing some of those fish. Um, but it's still a wild place. It's a place that takes some patience. I should share that as well. You know, I can think of a trip where we probably went, I don't know, 7 hours or so. I think we caught one little dink. And then in a 15-minute span, we put 25 pounds in the boat. And when that place decides it's going to go off, it absolutely goes off. And it's an incredible thing to see. So what's all this mean? What's the big picture? Well, I think it's easy to buy into that noise and to blame the lake, especially if you had a lousy day. Uh, and yes, look, Okeechobee needs some help, but it doesn't suck. Sometimes we don't fish our best, but 30-pound bags are out there to be had. You've got to fish clean. Uh, Fishing isn't easy, and anybody who thinks they're going to go down there and catch a dirty 30 just by getting their line wet, man, that's not the case. And if you think it's a 10-pounder every other cast, well, you're at the wrong place. And if you know what that place is, let me know, because I've never heard of it. But I think there are some reasons to be encouraged. If you look at the water levels, last year it was 16 and a half feet or so when I was down there. This year it was at 12 and a half and still dropping. I think at this point it's probably closer to 11, which is getting really shallow. But I think that's going to encourage some growth where some of that bottom has been exposed, which I think is a really good thing. So I'm looking forward to what happens. I'm curious what that means for next year and beyond. And I would encourage you to, keep going, keep grinding, because every cast could be the fish of a lifetime, or it could be a gator. But hey, thanks for listening. We'll talk soon.